Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the PHNX Rising Show, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. I'm Ramon Chavez. I'm joined by Max Simpson. We got Owen Evans over there, and a very, very special guest in the house, Phoenix Rising head coach Juan Guerra. Thank you so much for joining us today, Juan.
Thank you for having me, guys. Honestly, I'm very, very happy to be here, man. So thanks for the invitation again.
And you only got a little bit lost on the way here.
I was never lost. I knew what I was. The security guard got us lost.
Oh, okay, that's the issue. That's the second time I've heard that, so we gotta make sure to fix that. But yeah, Juan, thank you for coming over here to the studios. Really appreciate it. Got some questions for you, and I hope you don't mind answering a few of them. So.
Only a few, though. Only a few.
Yeah, Owen's ready over there. He wanted that seat next to you. And yeah, I just want to shout out everybody that's watching us right now. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you do have questions, drop them in the chat. We'll see if we can get to them before we wrap up the show today. But Juan, let's go ahead and get started. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? I know a lot of people know you for your playing career, obviously coaching, but what was Juan like when he was younger in Venezuela?
I was probably one of the only Venezuelan let's say habitants that didn't play baseball.
Oh,
yes. So I'm not good at baseball at all. And every time I was in school, people would be playing baseball in recess, and I was never getting picked because I was very bad. I come from my father has a Italian family because my grandfather's Italian, and soccer in the house or football we were always watching football. From my mom's side, they're all Venezuelans, but they were also involved in love with the game. So soccer in my life has been always, on first hand and a priority. And since very, very little, I fell in love with the game. I started playing when I was 4, and I played for many, many years. When I was 15 years old, my family decided to move to the United States. We moved to Miami, and I kept playing there. I did high school there, then I did college, where I still played soccer, and then I had a short spell in the FC Dallas. And then after that, I went back to Venezuela to play professionally. It was 11 quick years that just flew by with a bit, in Venezuela, a bit in Europe, a bit with the national team. And then I had the opportunity to come back to the U.S. with the Tampa Bay Rowdies. And I came back. I was 5 years playing between the NASL and the USL. And my last year in Indy 11, I had the opportunity to start my coaching career under Martin Rennie. I had one more year left of playing contract as a player. But Martin knew how much I wanted to coach, or how much I love coaching. And that's how my coaching career started. He offered me the opportunity to be a player coach, and I denied right away. I didn't want to be a player coach. I wanted to either I finished my last year as a player, or I started my coaching career as as an assistant coach. Since I did college over here, I started playing professionally at 21, and back home in South America and in Europe as well, that's kind of late. If you're 21 years old and you're not playing professionally, it's late. So when Martin Rennie offered me the opportunity to start coaching at the age of 32, it was kind of young too. So I said, well, I started my playing career kind of late. Now I have the opportunity to start my coaching career a bit young. And that's the route that I decided to take. And it's been a wonderful, beautiful, painful, and joyful journey. And I wouldn't change nothing about it because it got me to where I am today.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man. No, I love that. Along the way, whether it was during your playing career, during your coaching career so far, who were some of the players, maybe when you were a boy, who you looked up to, who you played with, played against, any managers that really left a mark and maybe even kind of helped influence your coaching style now?
Wow, it's so many, and it's hard to start mentioning names because I don't wanna forget important people, But there's one that still to this day I keep in touch with, and I actually got on the phone with him today, and I always mention this is Gio Savarese, is the head coach for the Portland Timbers. When I was probably, I remember 6, 7, and I was a young guy in Venezuela, and my dad used to take us to the stadium, and I used to see Gio playing for the national team, for the Venezuelan national team, and then Gio kept growing, and then he came to the U.S., he did the university, and he started playing in the MLS. After the MLS, he had a short spell in England, I believe, and he was in Italy as well. So he was a striker from Venezuela that, as a player, I had already looked up to. And then when he retired, he became a coach, and he started coaching for the New York Cosmos. and he did a great job, man. He did a great job. I believe in 4 years he played 4 finals, and I had the opportunity to play for him for 1 year, in on the New York Cosmos. That we played a final. We didn't win it, but we had a great year together, and I just learned so much from him in so many stages of my career. When I was a player, I look up to him as a player when he used to play, and when I started coaching, I look up to him as a coach. So he's a person that I still keep in touch with. Is a guy that it's a mentor to me, and there's someone that I care for, and I know that he cares for me too. So it's someone very important in my professional career, and also now in my personal life too.
You mentioned as a kid, obviously moving from Venezuela to the US. What was the biggest culture shock? What was the hardest thing to adapt to there?
Well, it was a lot. First of all, I thought I knew English, but I didn't, and it was hard. It was hard because I was 15 years old, and I was a young guy in Miami, in which there's still a big Hispanic culture, and you can still speak Spanish and get around. Not as much back then as it is now, but I could still get around by speaking Spanish. But it was tough. It was tough. Language was one of the big ones, and a young 15-year-old that you have all your friends back home. I had already started the youth national team process, and I had to leave the country. It was tough for me. It was tough. And I remember one time getting home, I was so upset, man, so upset that we had left Venezuela and that we were here. And I was a freshman in high school, and I didn't really have a lot of friends. And my mom and dad they sat me down on the table. My dad said, "Well, soccer's starting in less than a month. So that means the minimum you're gonna have 11 friends." So
Minimum.
yeah, minimum. So he was right. He was right, and I think all those transitions, adaptation periods, and moments of as you may say, kind of like adversity in a good way. It build a lot of on the inside, and build something that is also important for the future. And I think it created a lot of character inside of me that has helped me overcome a lot of things that I had to face in my playing career and also my coaching career as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. If you guys hear some noise, it's because the rest of the PHNX crew is watching the Cardinals and
I love it,
the
man.
Coyotes game, so you're going to hear a little bit of noise. But speaking a little bit of football, Juan, is it true that you were the kicker for your high school team?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes.
How was that? How did you, was it an easy transition, or did you have any issues with that?
I have a funny story. My first football game, and you guys are not going to believe this, and we're going through adaptation periods and stuff. So I'm on a football game, and we scored a touchdown. Dude, as soon as we scored a touchdown, you have people running in and out, and you don't understand. And I'm just standing in the sideline, and like you have these big guys and the coach and the head coach, because they scream a lot, man. And go. And I'm waiting for the referees to put a signal or something, like a substitution, like you come in and out, like as it is in soccer.
Yeah.
But in football, you don't do that. So I'm standing on the sideline, and I'm like go. And I was like, dude, how do I go? I don't have permission yet. And they're like, no, go. And that was my first football game, and I did it for 3 years of high school. Freshman year, I didn't do it, but I did it sophomore, junior, and senior year. And I had the opportunity to go to college.
Wow.
And kick for football. But I love soccer, football way too much. And I didn't think, a few seconds on the field, I couldn't sacrifice 90 plus minutes of soccer. And I didn't want to do it. I still watch, I still follow it, and I enjoy it. I still have friends that, they still call me, oh, kicker. I said, no, man, I'm not a kicker anymore.
The Cardinals might need you, now that we know.
They're on their third kicker this season so far. It's the off season right now.
Yeah, you've got time. The season doesn't start up until, we've got a few months.
There you go.
My high school friends still call me kicker. It just stuck with them.
Man, that's awesome.
No, of course. I mean, and I was going to say, you touched on it a bit, and we definitely want to get into, a little bit more of like your career, your coaching career. I know you've been at Oakland, a couple other stops. Did want to ask, and I know we have a couple rapid fires later, but I want to jump on this real quick. What is any matches that you watch, like growing up or anything? We talked a bit about like people who've made an impression. Any matches you watch that like really stick in, whether you're from your playing career, growing up, managing, anything that really just, I don't know, you remember fondly, watching TV, anything you were involved in?
From when I was a kid?
Any of your choice, either as a kid or growing up in the early parts of your playing career?
Yeah. first World Cup I remembered I enjoyed was in the U.S. on '94, and that's the first World Cup that I remembered, like, I mean, enjoying and seeing my family rooting for Italy and everybody in the house, and there was this big thing about Italy because, I mean, they had great players on that World Cup, and I remember Roberto Baggio and all of this. And there's one game that I don't know, I was so young, but I remember the penalty shootout versus Brazil, and I remember Baggio missing that penalty after being, I mean, the best player in the world that year at that time, and then being probably the best player in the World Cup and missing that penalty. And that's something that I don't know, it always stuck with me. I was crying. I remember just crying, and then I was just hitting everything, and like, I mean, my father couldn't really understand why I was so young, and I was yet so passionate. And when I look back, now that I have kids and I see them and I see how passionate they are, I was like, I was very passionate at a young age, and this is something that I still carry till today.
What about as a player though? What was your favorite game you've ever played in?
Favorite game? Okay, let's see. There's a few. I obviously have to say my debut with the Venezuelan national team it was in Colombia, and the stadium was packed, and they have good players like Falcao, James Rodriguez. It was a team that was loaded, and it was one of those that, I mean, I don't know why I always say, like, all the debuts are like moments that sometimes you don't expect. Either you don't train during the week, and then the coach grabs you and says, by the way, this guy got hurt, go. Or I decide you go now. And it was very similar because in my position, I always had very good players in the national team, players that to this day, they're still playing. One of them is Tomas Rincon. He's in Serie A in Italy. And most of the team captains went through my position. But it was one of those games in Colombia that things were not going our way. And the team captain just, I don't know, he was feeling sick. And 30-something minute in the game, he says, go, warm up. It's like, what? Yeah, go, warm up. And we're losing 1-0. And we ended up tying 1-1. And it was one of those that I'll never forget. Also, because after that, I had to do the doping test. Dude, and I just...
How does that work? Someone just comes and grabs you, gives you a cup?
Yeah, absolutely. No, the game is done, and you start walking out, and they say, by the way, you can't go to the locker room. You have to come with us.
Hey, you played too well. You know, it's something that you did.
It's how do you call that? Random or?
Okay.
Yeah, they don't really, right. So they grab you and they take you, and guys, I couldn't pee, man. I couldn't. I don't know what it was, if I was dehydrated or I ran too much or whatever it was. Yeah. But I really wanted to go to the locker room to celebrate because we had just tied an away match for a World Cup qualifier that put us in a good position.
Yeah, huge.
It was huge, and it was my debut.
Wow.
So I really wanted to celebrate with the team. So what happens is I spend so much time at this testing thing. The bus leaves to the hotel. They're not waiting on me anymore. They're like, nah, we go. And I'm telling you, they don't let you leave that room till you pee, guys. Yeah, so then obviously, I mean, after drinking so many like Gatorades, beer and like water, like, so you can pee, you go to the hotel, and I'm thinking, oh man, I'm going to get to the meal room, and everybody's still excited. And I get to the meal room, everybody was gone. So I couldn't celebrate really with the team.
Oh man.
But it was one of those games that I'm never going to forget, man.
Man, that's such a crazy story, man. That's insane. Oh man. All right, y'all. Before we continue with the questions, we do want to invite you next week to Four Peaks in their 8th Street location. You know, not only because it's last Wednesday, but also Max is going to buy a round to everybody that shows up over there. So Juan, if you want some beer, you know where you can find us over there with Four Peaks. But yeah, make sure to join us over there. It's going to be last Wednesday, so that's all the PHNX Sports Show. They're going to be doing their shows there. It's going to be a great time. So make sure to join us there. And again, Max has got the first round.
Yeah, first round. Disclaimer: the $3 kilt lifter and wow weed pints that you get at all PHNX events when you show up for our shows. But yes, I got first round. Come on.
Owen's got second. You know,
why am I getting volunteered for these now? Max made the claim on it.
No one always volunteering us for stuff. So
ooh, that's a good point.
That's a good point. That is a good point. I'll give you that.
Oh my God. But yeah, make sure to join us next week, guys. So Owen, I think you got some couple questions for Juan over here. We're getting to the tough ones.
We've all got a lot of questions. Yeah. Let's move on. Kick on a little bit to the start of your head coaching career. Right, you have a relatively successful year here as an assistant coach, rising, do really well in the regular season. Playoffs don't go as hoped, but you end up getting the call to move down to Oakland. How did that move come about?
So I'm not sure if many people know the whole story behind it, but Oakland had called in the middle of the year, because they were pursuing to find a new head coach for 2022, and in the middle of the year I've told them that I wanted to focus on whatever was left of the season with Phoenix, and we're doing such a good job, and then if anything, if they were still looking for a head coach by the end of the year, then I mean whenever we were done, we could probably get on the phone and explore the option. And that's what happened. I mean, we didn't communicate again. And then, like you said, we're having a great year. And then, sadly, on the playoffs versus RGV, things didn't go our way, and our season was done early. Season was done, and it's probably a week and a half or 2 weeks, and my phone didn't really ring, not from Oakland at least. And like 2.5 weeks later, probably closer to the 20th of December or mid-December, they called again and they said, listen, we want to talk to you, and that's how everything started. Then it was very, very fast. It happened all in 5 days. And then on December 24th, on Christmas, I made the decision. I signed my contract. And on December 25th, my kids were finishing unwrapping presents, and I was packing my bags and getting on a plane to Oakland at 7 p.m. So it was a very, very quick turnaround.
A bit hectic, eh?
Yeah, it was
Like
very,
that you say Christmas on the 24th and then unwrap on the 25th.
You're right. You're right.
That's how we do it in Latin America. We celebrate the day
Yes,
before.
yes, you're right. Yeah. We're always in a rush.
I was gonna say, with such a quick startup, such a turnaround experience, what were some of your most memorable times, from your time in Oakland?
I think I enjoyed everything, even though it was hectic,
Yeah.
and it was never an easy ride, if I can describe it that way, but in a good sense. Because like what I just described, right, on mid-December or close to mid-December, you receive a phone call, then you're on the phone a lot, because I mean, first of all, you have to go through the process of making sure that you're the right fit for the job, but then I mean also they're the right fit for you on the personal and the professional side. And then when you make the decision to go and they make the decision to bring you in, then you have to build, and what you get is a blank sheet of paper, and you have to start building, and the things that you want, because you get to build how you want. And we had to go all the way from, I mean, from no equipment manager, no one in the medical side, no coaching, like not assistant coaches, no nothing, and only a handful of returning players. And then what do you do first? You look at the returning players and you said, okay, how many of these guys that are returning fit the style of play, the game model that you want to implement? And then you start checking. Some guys don't fit, or some guys might fit, but you need to make moves in order to move people to bring in guys that probably fit a bit better. And it was hectic, man, because I didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of time to put together a coaching staff and a team, and then also on top of that, a game model and a style of play. And it was hectic, like I said, but I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it a lot. Then quick turnaround. You know, what I mean, preseason then starts, and at mid-January, the players are starting to come in. I knew some of them. Some of them I didn't really know, and that's when you kick in, and I think I stepped on the pedal and I didn't look back all the way to tonight, and I haven't been able to stop, and I'm not gonna be able to stop, because the other night we just finished the season, and on the note that we finished, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later, it doesn't allow me the opportunity to also just say, you know what, let's just go to Cancun and take two weeks off. I can't do that. And then I know people might say, oh no, you have to. Well, I know, and I'll be sure to know when is it that I can rest, and it's not now, it's not yet. So that's kind of like how I see it. But a lot of learning on this first year, because I had the opportunity to build, and I'm gonna have the opportunity to build twice.
Absolutely.
You know, we spoke about the hectic move up to Oakland. Just how quickly did things come together between, Rick leaving, you coming in here? How quickly was that on your end? When did you first get the phone call?
It was a quick turnaround. It was very quick, in which, and I've said this before. I don't think I've said it to you guys. I said it to a group of season ticket holders in an event that we had a month and a half ago. I said I left Phoenix always with the intention of coming back. I left Phoenix with the intention of growing, of developing, of getting better, and being able to come back and give back to Phoenix everything that they've given to me and my family. I also knew when I left, understanding that the moment that I was going to come back, it was going to be a turbulent moment. It was going to be a moment of adversity. Like you don't always, or most of the time, at least 95, 90% of the time, arrive to a top team anywhere in the world when they're doing well. That's very hard. You usually arrive to this type of organizations in a moment of adversity or in a moment of turbulence. And I also got prepared for that. When I left, I left understanding that when that phone was gonna ring, it was not gonna be, yeah, I mean, it was gonna be pleasant because it was gonna be Phoenix, but I knew there was gonna be a lot of adversity and a lot of things that they were gonna need fixing, and I also got prepared for that. And that's how it was. It happened very very quickly in a spell of less than a week, and the rest is pretty much, I mean, history. I was here, and we started working right away.
Yeah, you know, that kind of stunned us here as well at PHNX Rising, the turnaround in that, because, you know, obviously you're in Oakland and you were building the foundation there, and then all of a sudden you're in command of Phoenix Rising, you know, and like you're saying, less than a week. But, you know, is that, looking back, or is there anything that you would do different with how that situation was handled? Are you content with what happened looking back at it?
Well, Ramon, I think on my end, I did everything I could to try to make it as professional, as smooth as possible.
Mm,
And on my end, there's nothing I could have done differently because I wasn't allowed to.
mm,
And maybe there's other people that can look back and say that could have been done differently. I'm not saying that the outcome was going to be different.
mhm,
The outcome could probably was going to be the same one, because since moment one that my phone rang, I said, yes, I'm
mm.
interested in exploring this option.
Gotcha.
Yes, I'm interested on Phoenix Rising. Then what happened after that? I didn't handle it. I didn't control the narrative, and again, it's hard. You know,
Hmm.
it's hard because it was out of my hands. So the way I did it was as best as I could,
Yeah.
and I know that time football and soccer are gonna give everybody the opportunity to have full transparency when the time is right.
That's awesome. And you talked about, you know, always wanting to maybe come back to Phoenix here. And so what makes the Rising community so special for you? You know, why did you always have that in the back of your mind, wanting to return to Phoenix?
I think we share so many values. Phoenix is not just Phoenix. It's the fan base.
Mm,
It's the state of Arizona. Is the city of Phoenix. The organization that, as it is, Phoenix Rising, is that we share values of I mean, I believe we're obsessed with growth and development.
mm,
Is that we always want to keep growing. We always want to make sure that we get better, and we
mhm,
always trying to find ways to get better. And once you get better, you just don't stop there. You sit and you relax. It's like, okay, what's next?
mhm,
What do we got to do now to even improve what we've done before? Also, how competitive we are, right? Is that every year we're just thinking of, okay, we want to fight at the top. We want to make sure that we can bring silverware. We
mhm,
want to make sure that we can win, and that's easier said than done. I think winning is very very difficult in whatever you do in life. In your department, in your profession, what do you guys do? You have thousands of millions of competition, and it's tough. It's tough to be at the top. Same
mhm,
as in professional sports. For us, winning is very difficult, and sometimes people forget how hard it is. And to be on a winning team, people say, oh yeah, well, you're a Phoenix Rising and you guys win, and it's no, no, no. It's very hard because every week, every team, I can guarantee you, because at the beginning of this year, I wasn't here, and as soon as the calendar was out, I couldn't, I could care less at all the other dates, but I was looking at where's Phoenix. Boom, here's Phoenix, and I can guarantee you that most of the teams in the league are the same way.
mm,
It's like boom, the calendars are where's Phoenix? When are we gonna go to Phoenix? When are we gonna play Phoenix? So every week, Phoenix Rising ourselves, we're facing teams that are playing at their best and at their highest motivational levels. So every week you're playing a playoff game, or every week you're playing a team that is at their highest of their motivation. So it's tough.
mhm,
It's very very difficult, and it just doesn't take. It's not just talent that you need in order to get through a season of 34 battles like that one.
yeah,
Is that you need to make sure that you have good character and people that are strong here, very very strong over here, that have a huge heart, and that have big character to fight through a whole season of this, because it's demanding. And then on top of that, if you put that, you have to train at 100+ degree weather, and then all of that, and then the pressure and everything is tough. Our players are demanded, and this is why, this is why Phoenix Rising is Phoenix Rising. It's just, I don't think it's for everybody, and to be at the top again is very difficult. It's not as easy as it looks.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I mean, we love the love that our chat's showing, right? I see Michael with Los Bandidos, always one of us from the minute you got here the first time. I mean, I think this fan support from when you got here, it's been a very interesting position, right? Because you come in the middle of the season with a club that has very high expectations, and it was a tough go of it from the first half of the season. I'm really curious how you kind of focus your mindset between, hey, I'm coming in here mid-season. We want to push for playoffs. We want to make a run. This season is not lost. We want to do something now. But knowing that what you're trying to build, your philosophy that you're looking to grow with your team, isn't just going to be made or broken within this first season, that there is a longer-term balance. I'm really curious how you kind of, draw that line there.
It was hard. It was difficult. And to be honest with you, brother, I wish it was mid-season, because it was a lot less than that. And when the phone rang again, and I went right away, boom, boom. I look at the calendar, and I was like, only 3 home games, and then the rest is away. And then on top of that, I saw a lot of midweek games, and I said, okay, it's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be difficult. But again, I go back to what I was telling Owen earlier. I knew that if I was gonna have to come back, it was gonna be in a moment of adversity. It was gonna be in a very turbulent moment, and a difficult moment, and I knew this was part of my journey and my process of coming back to Phoenix. And on day one, I said, because to be honest with you, I'm still hurt. I'm still bothered about the way things ended, and I'm not gonna blame it on time. Yes, everybody knows, and it's very I'm very optimistic, but on the same page, I'm a very realistic person, right? And in order, you have to combine both in order to try to get in life and professional sports best of the results. And I was very optimistic that with the talent and the character and the players and the organization that we were, that with 9 games to go, we could still turn it around, even though it's going to be very difficult. So I was very optimistic that way, but I was also very realistic, because as a player, I sat in those locker rooms when things are not going well, and I sat in that locker room when there's a coaching change towards the end of the year, and I knew without really being in there, I knew some of the things, that happens in those moments in these professional locker rooms, and it was going to be a tough one. But we put together a plan of action that obviously involved 1 game at a time, and a week by week, in which we had to fix some scenarios and work on some things on and off the field, technically, tactically, fitness levels, and also the mentality aspects that we needed to change. And again, it took a little bit longer than we would have liked. But I truly believe that, if we would have an extra 2 or 3 weeks, things would have been different. But that's not the reality. Sure. The reality is that it was tough, man, and we felt short. And to this moment, I'm bothered. I'm bothered, and I'm hurt. And this is why I told you I haven't had time to rest since December 25th, Christmas, Ramon. and you know what I mean? And I can guarantee everybody that's watching us, the supporters and the players and the organization, that we're not going to rest until we put this organization back where it has to be.
Something that the fans often point to when they're trying to sum up where things went wrong this year. How much of an impact do you think Solomon Asante's departure had on the team?
Well, it's right away. It's Jimmy, just without putting the person in the environment, just putting the name right away. When you mention Solo, it's just everything he represents, right? Not just for the organization, but for the league, for the West of the USL. It's Solo obviously was a big loss, but we also need to understand that oh man, I wish our office could
some
be
stuff
like
going on in the Cardinals game over there.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna send a message to. Yeah, this is the way to work. But what I was saying about Solo is that obviously it was a big loss. It was a big loss for the West of the USL. It was a big loss for the organization, but it was also it was a transition moment. It was a moment of transition that all teams go through, and not just in soccer, but in any sports, in baseball, basketball, football. And there are moments where you have to make decisions that hurt, but also decisions that make sense. Understanding that in that moment and in that change, it is going to be difficult to navigate it at first until things click and then change. And that's kind of like what happened. Obviously, Solo was missed. I mean, Solo was missed, and he was an important piece of the locker room and the culture on and off the field. But the organization needed to make a decision moving forward, and they made a decision believing in what they were deciding. And now it's up to us to make sure that we can find the next pieces that make sense and that can lead on and off the field, just like Solo did. Solo would, the way I see it is when somebody comes to an organization, gives so much, and it's so successful individually and collectively, he sets the bar or he puts a standard. Now, when the players come into that locker room and they see things, it's like, okay, this is who was here before me. That's where I need to go. That's the north. And then Solo just, I mean, he left a clear mark and a clear north that we just have to make sure that the players that come in follow and they understand that that's where we go.
That's awesome. And Juan, thank you again, for coming out here to the studios. It's actually, the first time we're actually in this big studio. So love having you here to break this in. And also I'm happy to be here back in the studios because I can also grab my hands on a couple of OGs over here. So if you guys haven't already, make sure to check them out online, ogsbrands.com, and you guys can purchase your very own OGs. You can also follow them on Instagram, OGs Brands, and make sure to check out all their content that they have. I know Max and myself are big fans of it, so make sure to grab yours as well. And remember, guys, you must be 21 years or older to purchase OG's Brands.
I was going to say, Juan earlier was talking about, like a random drug test, all that stuff. When he was playing, if you take some OGs, it's probably going to pop up on there. But we're not in the playing situation.
No. Yeah, we're not going to lock you down like they did with Juan. No, that's not what we're about. Oh man. No, but yeah, Juan, love having you here. Love your answers. I know the chat's liking them. They have some comments there that they want to take the league by storm, says Thomas, next year. That's what they're looking for. They want you to re-sign Gavi. That's one of the big comments that we have here as well. But yeah, it was, looking back at the season, it was a very tough one, and us covering it, we felt the pain from the fans, and watching the defeats because, Owen's been here for years. He's seen the team at reach the pinnacle, and it was tough, because watching these losses pile up, and this is not something that the Rising culture is about. It's about winning and having that winning mentality. But it's, how do you, week in or week out, talk to the guys saying, hey, we're gonna improve. This is what we're doing week in and week out. And how did you change that mentality? What was your message to the guys once you came in?
I'm not gonna lie. Since I left, I followed you guys. I was can't remember, we were coming back. I was with Oakland and Ventura. We're doing preseason, and on the way back on my phone, I don't know how I was able to watch the game versus Sporting KZ, which they said it was not going to be. I mean, it was not going to. They were not going to have a link or something.
I think Owen put it on stream.
I don't know how.
No. There was one for that. I think SKC put their own stream.
That's it. Okay.
Like that, yeah. They didn't know any of the names. They were just making names up as they went along.
Yeah, something. I was like, because I was upset. I was not going to be able to watch it, but somehow I found a link and I clicked, and I was like, oh, okay. So I was on the bus on the way back from Ventura, watching the game. And what I'm trying to say is that since I left, I follow the team. I always follow, and I was very happy when the first result went your way, and I just said to myself, I said, okay, here we go again. Phoenix is just gonna kill everybody, because it was a good result, and then I kept following the team, and just like how you struggled, just like how you suffered, and you were bothered, even though I wasn't here, I was as well. I was as well, because I cared for the organization. I cared for the players that were here, and also the staff. So I was also bothered, and I know exactly how you felt, because when I was watching it from the outside, I felt the same way. So when I came in here, it was the same thing for the fan base, right? So the same things I was feeling as I was watching, it's exactly how they feel. It's exactly how they feel, and these are, these are people that we must respect. These are people that support us through ups and downs. These are people that spend their money to come watch us play and invest and help in the investment of the organization. and this is an important piece. It's an important piece of the organization. I've said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000,000 times more. Say, listen, players come and go, coaches come and go as well, ownership groups, GMs, front office, that changes all the time. The fan base, the supporters will not go. This is their club. This is their club, and we must protect it as much as we can while we're here.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. And sometimes, I mean, supporters have the right to be upset when they see that the product on the field and or off the field is not something that they like or want. On that same note, there's two sides to what supporters can do, and I've always said this, and thankfully in Phoenix is like you can have the support from a fan base that is pushing so much and going after everything, the organization and the players, that they put pressure and then they start pushing you down because of the way that they're doing things, and that to me is incorrect. Now our fan base, our supporters, and the people that love this organization, and they're supporters, so they push you and they push you from here up, so they lift you up, and there's a big difference among both of them, and sometimes when you see them they might look similar, but they're not, and there's a big difference with both. And this is when you ask me about what did I tell the players, or what was my message to the players. The first home game we had, and this is something that maybe you guys don't know, and I don't know if it got outside of the locker room. We created a video. We created a video with young guys from the academy, with part of the supporter groups and people from the stands that come watch us play, from players that have played in the past, John Baquero, Rufat, Dadashov, Peter Ramage, one of the assistant coaches in the past, and the video was talking and explaining what Phoenix Rising represents to them, and who Phoenix Rising is, because that was one of the most important things as soon as I walk in the locker room, is for the new players and the players that were here that had forgotten what it felt and who we were, is to remember who we are, and that was important. And also the fans that were in the video, the way they were talking, they were doing exactly what I told you, is that they were supporting, and through a whole year of adversity, when you have, I mean, the 3 home games that we had, it was almost a full house. And if it would have been for the rain, the past game, it was going to be pretty much sold out. So this is a clear message to the players, to the owners, to the staff, organization, everybody, that the supporters are here. And the supporters are here to support. And if they supported you through a moment of adversity, they will support you when things are going well too. And this is what good good commitment, love, sense of belonging from the supporters, the way they give. And that's what we have. That's what we have, Ramon. And it's unbelievable. And I'll go back to the question you asked me. Is like, this was also one of the reasons why I wanted to come back. Yeah. I mean, most teams, when things are not going well, you go and it's an empty stadium. Or it's impossible to, no, I think the fan base always stayed close. They were bothered, but they were close. And that's important.
Of course, that's one positive to take away from the end of the season. But on the field, with the results didn't go quite the way you wanted, but are there any other positives you could take out of those last couple of months?
Oh, absolutely. Is the insertion of the game model, insertion of the style of play. I truly think that every game that passed, the players kept improving in different areas and aspects, but it was something that it was very noticeable, not just by what your eyes can see, but also by the numbers and the data, and that was important, and not just in games that didn't mean anything. If we listen, I my respect to the guys, because when I came in, I didn't put it easy on them to change a style of play, because the style of play changed drastically. The identity on the field changed drastically, and also we changed the game model because we changed the system, and it was a lot for them to take on, right? And they absorbed it as much as they could, and they kept fighting. And then on top of that, we couldn't miss because we had to be perfect all the way towards RGV, and it was a tough schedule. It was a very, very tough schedule, and it's doing that, and it's absorbing all those changes in a moment where you can miss, and you have to be perfect. I remember you asking me, I think it was a Sacramento game, where you asked me, so we might see a change of the system, or we might see some change. I said, oh, and if there's a game that we're not gonna do changes, we're not gonna invent too much, is this one. We're gonna stick with what we have, and we're gonna keep believing in what we're doing. I think we were good in San Diego. First half was a very good first half. It was cleared, but then obviously things happened in the second half that we could have avoided. And versus Monterrey, we could have been better, but I saw improvement already. And it was I told you this after the game. You should never go on the road and have to score more than 3 goals to win. Ever. Ever. 3 goals on the road should be enough to win a game. And then after that, it was a cleared good performance in Sacramento that led to a good result. And again, the curve was a clear ascending curve. It was a clear ascending curve, and where a lot of things were done properly, there's always room for improvement, man. There's always room for improvement, but we understood also that we couldn't fix anything with the amount of time that we had. So we have to pick and choose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that speaks to what you said earlier, right? Where it is focusing in some ways on the now, but it's also you're building towards something larger. And, you talked a bit about formations and a bit about how your system is and how it's working towards something bigger. I'm really curious how your relationships boil down when you're talking about man management, where you're talking about not just who's going to be in the squad, who's going to be in the starting 11, but really how you are building those relationships with players throughout the entire season. I mean, I think you're, to your point, talking about the fans. They, we can only see as much as what goes on the field or what's on social, but there's a lot that we don't see, and there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. Can you speak to that and just what that means to you, how you enjoy that about coaching?
I love it. I think coaching is about relationships, and especially nowadays, and for head coaches. Even though this has been my first year, and I've always liked, since even my last 3 or 4 years as a player, I kind of stopped following teams and I started following coaches. It was one of those. Obviously, I have teams that I liked, and I always had my team that I follow. But towards my last few years, I started following coaches, and the more you read, the more you see, especially nowadays when you see the roster and you see the number of players, but then also you see the number of staff members that it has. It's like, because it becomes very, you have coaches that specialize on so many things, and the higher the level is, the more coaches you have, and the more coaches that specialize on different things. So what does that give you? Obviously, as a head coach, you're gonna have to make decisions, which is the hardest thing about the job, hard decisions. And also then you make you decide on how do you want to do things. But then on top of that, you're left with a lot of men management, not just so much for players, but also for staff, because they're part of the team too, and the club, and they're a crucial part and a key piece of the success of the organization. So you have to do a lot of men management, and this is something that I love as well. I love, because I've learned when I was a player, sometimes I'll be so upset when things that will happen with coaches, assistant coaches or head coaches. And I always remember sometimes going home, and my wife, I don't know if she's watching because she has the 3 kids at home right now and stuff, but maybe she is. And I would be upset, right, when I would get home because of X thing happen. And she would always say to me, it was like, well, you're learning even from this. Like, you're learning from things that are negative, because you're learning of, don't forget about it, how you feel, because so that way you don't do it once you're on that side, if this is something that you want to do. And that's kind of like something that stuck with me. But at the time, like, I don't want to hear this.
Right.
No, I want you to be with me. Be upset with me. It's just like, no, don't be upset. Like, learn from this, because so that you don't repeat it. And I'm someone that reflects a lot. I'm someone that I take very personal decisions I make, and sometimes after games, I struggles and I have mind battles with myself at times at the hotel or before going to sleep, if I sleep at all, because of that, because of the decisions that I have to make, the management things that go on, and I love it. I love it. What I've learned the most is that professional players and professional athletes, they need honesty, and they're not gonna like it a lot of times when you tell them, and they're gonna be upset, and probably they're gonna be bothered. But once they go home and everything settles, and then the next day shows up, at least they're gonna respect you for what you said and being honest and being transparent to them. So that's and again, that's easier said than done, because you have 24 guys that you're pushing, that you're telling, and at the end of the day, sometimes, and I said this also in another interview that I had, is like, being fair as a head coach, it's borderline impossible. being fair as a head coach is borderline impossible in any sports. If we think about this, and I'm gonna use an example, uh, Joy Calistri. Joy Calistri shows up to train every single day and gives you 100%. Technically, he's clean. Tactically, he's one of the smartest guys we have in the locker room, and he absorbs absolutely all the information. And he would, if you say jump, he would jump. And then you have to make decisions towards the end of the week, and you have a guy that has given you absolutely everything, and sometimes yet that guy is not on the starting team. Sometimes the guy is not going to play. And one time last year as an assistant coach, I had to tell him that he was not going to be in the 18. So how was I fair? How was I fair to someone that had given me absolutely everything I asked for? So as a head coach, being fair is impossible. And it's impossible for everybody to be happy with you as well. But if you're transparent and if you're honest, the player will be bothered, but he will respect you for it. And that's one of the about men management and professional sports is about that. It's about transparency, honestly. And even though they're not going to like what they're going to hear, you got to say it.
No, thank you for that one. That's a great answer. Yeah. All right, y'all. We do have a few more questions for you, Juan. We will take a quick break and just talk about our friends at DraftKings. If you guys haven't downloaded the app, make sure to do so. And when you do so, make sure to use the promo code PHNX if you're a new customer. And the reason is if you bet $5 on any NBA team and their money line, you can get up to $200 if your team wins. So it's an amazing promotion from DraftKings Sportsbook. And you can also boost your winnings up to 100% with DraftKings stepped up same game parlay. So an amazing promotion from our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. And again, you guys can download it on your phone. And remember, minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Make sure to check out our show notes for details.
Do you have a favorite NBA team?
Yes, man.
Who are they?
Where did I say to you that I came to the U.S. when I was 15?
Oh, man, he's a Heat fan.
No.
There we go.
No.
What?
Right, cut the interview short at this point.
No, Jacob is calling now, man. I'm just playing.
Guys, I need some vitamin water.
Oh man, hey, the Suns won last night. It was a great game. So yeah, shout out to them. So just a little heads up one. If you want some Suns
sure
Suns stuff over here, we can hook you up.
Yeah.
All right, Juan, we got a few more questions for you. It's again, thank you again for coming over to the show and answering. I know everybody that's watching at home or wherever they're at, they're having a great time with your answers here. So right now, one of the things that we kind of discuss here at PHNX Rising is the fact that we have academies and especially one of them more specifically the one in Casa Grande, the Barca Academy over there. But we often see the talent from that academy get poached by different USL teams, Orange County, El Paso, stuff like that. And, a lot of the fans and us here at PHNX Rising, we kind of question what's the youth movement like with Phoenix Rising? Is there a plan for that, or is there is that something that's discussed between you and the rest of the organization about bringing young guys up? I know we have Niall Dunn and Channing Chaston and stuff like that, but is there any thought about bringing kids from the academy and bringing them up?
Absolutely, and it's part of the growth, the development that we want to establish and keep having as an organization, right? It's inserting and planting that seed of sense of belonging on the youth, and I lived it, and I know this is how it is. It's starting now to grow more in the U.S. with the academies and the MLS Next and all of this, and the cities and the big MLS teams where you have, the U12s, the 11s, 10s, whatever it is, 15s, wearing the jerseys of the home team, and it's important. It's important for us. I know that that you guys probably are bothered when you see a Barca Academy player going somewhere else, like you said. And I can guarantee you that I'm as bothered as you guys are when I read those news. Mm-hmm. But we're starting to making sure that we create good relationships, which is important. Making sure that we create bridges among organizations and clubs. And we don't create walls, which is the most important thing for us right now. Is that we work together, understanding that we have an academy. We will have an academy where we're growing, where we're developing talent, but without really forgetting about academies that are close by, that can that we can offer the same growth and development. On any given year to those players. Obviously, our main focus is ours. And it's the Academy of Phoenix Rising that they're doing unbelievable things, and I can guarantee you that for next year we're gonna keep seeing more. Even though when I was in here, you guys had the opportunity to see a lot of academy players playing. I mean, they play this year and preseason. There was a lot of them getting involved. Even last year when I was here, we had 5 of them getting involved, and this year again, and they had the opportunity to go to New Mexico. And to be honest with you, I mean, I was, even though given the result, I was proud of the kids, man. The kids showed up. They didn't back down, and they pushed forward for 90 plus minutes. Now we just have to make sure that moving forward, the decisions that we make are decisions that make sense. The decisions that we make are decisions that push that young talent in the right direction, in which hopefully they can end up, I mean, in the first team, or they can go somewhere else where they can keep developing and keep growing. But I truly think that and my dream as a head coach for Phoenix Rising, and hopefully the organization, is for every kid that is in the academy, in the club, on the rec side, that is that they dream and they go to sleep thinking that they're going to play one day for Phoenix Rising. That has to be our goal. That has to be what we want to create, because that's a sense of belonging that, I mean, that we want to insert. We want to, I mean, when I walk on Sundays, on the day off, I walk around with the family and I go to restaurants, I want to see kids wearing more Phoenix Rising jerseys and all of that, and especially in the city of Phoenix. And that's kind of like where we have to get, and we can get there. I have absolutely no doubt that we will.
And looking more at the here and now, though, you've got a busy off season coming up. Is there any particular part of the field that you think you have to focus on?
Yes, there's a lot of work that we need to do, Owen. Yeah, there's a lot of work that we need to do, and we need to focus on everything. We need to focus on absolutely everything on and off the field, and every detail is going to be important for next year. And again, I can guarantee you that every detail is being covered, is being reflected on, is being evaluated and assessed. And we're not going to make decisions in a rush, because I finally have time now. I have time to sit, to relax, to reflect, and make decisions that make sense, and not decisions in a rush. And hopefully, I mean, this allows us the opportunity to make decisions that guide us to success for, like I said to you, not just next year, but many years to come.
And what are the kind of attributes that you're looking for in players?
Well, number one is character. Character cannot be negotiable, and I'm not going to negotiate character. We have to bring in people that has the character to fight, that has the character to understand that I explained it earlier. If it's more games, less games, 30 plus whatever games next year, they're going to have to be ready to fight for 34 plus games. They're going to have to play 34 plus finals. And then they also going to have to not just compete versus the teams that we're playing against. During the week, they're going to have to compete versus their teammates. We're going to create competition, internal competition, with a very thin line of respect, in which they have to support each other on the weekends as well. And that's very hard to have. But once you have that, it's golden. Once you have that in a team where there's internal competition, yet at the same time they're supporting each other and they're understanding their roles, that's golden. So character is number one. And number two, obviously, you know what I mean, we want to bring technical players that fit the style of play that we want to implement and the way that we want to play, which is we want to have the ball. We want to be possession oriented, but we want to have possession with a purpose. I just don't want to keep the ball to see the stats and say, no one's going to win a game for a possession percentage. That's not what it is. It's about having the ball to create spaces that we can then exploit and create chances going to goal. And for that type of style of play, you need a certain technical ability, and we need to identify that, target that, and make sure that we can bring in that as well. And then obviously, from the tactical side, is players that are smart enough to understand flexibility, to understand transformation without losing identity. And that's hard at times, because sometimes people think, oh, well, you're playing a 4-2-3-1. I mean, you said you're going to play a back five. Well, guess what? I'm playing a 4-2-3-1, but when we build out, we open the center backs and we drop the midfielder, and we build out with a back three. But then you have two wing backs, and at the end of the day, it's still a back five, right? So it's about being able to transform without losing the identity of how you want to play. And not many players can do those things. And it's also identifying, targeting, and making sure that we bring players that can have that flexibility. Because in the USL, as you guys know very well, it's a very tough league, and it's a league that sometimes, I mean, you have to go to New Mexico and play in New Mexico, where, I mean, half of the field is a baseball field, and it has two different types of grass, and it's altitude. And then next week you might, I don't know, you might go to the east and you have to play in Tampa, or you have to go to Miami, or you have to play at sea level. And then the next week you might go to Colorado, and then it's turf, and then it's altitude again. So it's a very tough league, and you cannot play the same way over and over and over. At times, you're going to have to be transformational, and at times, you're going to have to adapt without losing who you are. And lastly, the fitness side, the athleticism, the speed. We want to bring in guys that are athletic, that are fit, that can go for 90 plus, and that can adapt to different environments as well, and also that, you know what I mean, that fit the game model.
Awesome. Appreciate that. All right. Well, I know we want to get into rapid fire here. I do have one last question for you. I know Owen asked you a bit earlier, like what successes you took from this past season. Looking ahead, with a full off season ahead for 2023, how do you define success for next season?
That's the hardest question you guys asked today.
It was from me, not okay.
Yeah, it's hard because we're going to take this clip and play it back out for the next year.
Yeah, kind of. You're right, but because it's right. If we look on the dictionary, or if we look at the definition of success, it's like, I mean, first of all, it's you have to set a goal, right, or an objective, and if that goal or objective is not met, then that means you were not successful. Right, and I believe in process, right, and I believe of way of doing things. I understand that. I mean, my head and my job depend on results, and that's fine, and I get to live with that every day. Another story for you guys. I'll finish with your answering your question, is that ever since I was little, I had a coach, and then he ended up being the national team coach. And he's the guy that also I play my first pro game with. His name is Manuel Plasencia. And he always used to say to us, and I was young back then, and you'd never think of this. He's like, I always have a bag, like a carry-on or something, behind the door of the locker room. Saying, because it makes me understand that I'm not going to be here forever, and at any moment I can be gone. And guess what I have in the locker room when I come in? I have a carry-on bag in there, because every time when I come in the morning, I don't take for granted what I have. Every time when I come in the morning, I understand that I can be gone. So every time I come in the morning, I don't want to pack that bag. I don't. So it makes me give my best every single day. And this is something that he used to say to us all the time when I was a player. And back then, it wasn't very impactful to me. But now I look back and I'm like, wow, man, this guy was, that he was unbelievable. So back to your question about being successful, man, and we have to be very honest. Phoenix Rising is an organization that wants trophies. Phoenix Rising is an organization that deserves to fight at the top every year. Now, we're going to go into it. I don't want to call it, and I also said this to you the first time we talked, I don't want to call this a change. I want to call this a transition. We're going to go into a transition process, and processes take a bit of time until things click. Obviously, our objectives are very clear. Our objectives are to fight at the top, and our objectives are to win as many trophies as we can. That's very clear. Now, when the year's done next year, and hopefully we can sit down again, and you guys bring me in and offer me some Gatorade and we can talk about it. Yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah, you like what you're drinking now.
We'll see if the process and everything we did was successful or not. You know what I mean? If at the end of the day, only one team in the USL Championship is going to be able to lift a trophy, and only one team in the USL Championship is going to be able to put a trophy in the cabinet. If we say that all the other teams in the USL failed because that trophy is not on the cabinet, it might be a bit harsh. It's also true, and it's a reality, right? Depending on what is it that you want to do, but it's a bit harsh. Next year, I can guarantee you, and I'm thinking about it today, we want to go for everything. We want to go for everything, and we want to create a very ambitious process, a very ambitious project. It's a process. It's a transition year, and we're gonna have to be patient. But that doesn't mean we're not gonna be ambitious. We're not gonna be hungry, and we're not gonna be shooting for everything. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Juan, so much for that. We do have a couple of quick fire questions for you. You know, just let us know what's the first thing that comes to your mind. Nothing crazy, you know. I mean, at least on my end, I don't know about Owen has. But start off easy. What are some of your favorite spots in Phoenix? Could be something like hiking or restaurants, anything like that you enjoy visiting.
Can I say the name of the restaurant?
If you want, yeah.
Yeah. There's a nice restaurant in downtown Chandler called Distillery. They have country music, dude.
Ooh.
I'm the pink elephant in the room, but I love it. I walk in, it's nice, man. Good
Do
music.
the two-step?
Yeah, it's good music. People dancing. They have a nice turf area where my kids are running around, and now we made the mistake probably of taking a soccer ball.
Oh wow!
And dude, they're just shooting everywhere, and one day they're gonna hit somebody. But it's a good spot, man.
Awesome, great. No, I'll have to check it out for sure. Sounds great.
I frequent DTC, downtown Chandler. I love, good spot.
It's a good spot.
I know producer Jacob. He frequents downtown Chandler. More
he knows all about it. Jacob over here.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I know you mentioned earlier that you maybe don't follow necessarily clubs, but you do follow managers. Some managers in today's game, I know you mentioned in Portland. Any others? Is it EPL, La Liga, anyone who you gravitate towards?
It's always kind of like, changing and transforming. I love Guardiola. I love Julian Nagelsmann. Simeone is at the top of the list. I love what Tuchel was doing with Chelsea when they won the Champions League, because it's a very similar style of play and game model that we have. I love what Conte is doing right now too. Again, very similar to the things we want to do. And again, I start seeing things, and I see things that I like, and sometimes things that can transform and translate to the things that we want to do. And I'm always open to learning, to absorbing, and the more I see, even though I don't have enough hours in the day, you know what I mean, to do stuff. But when I have time, thankfully, my kids love soccer. My wife loves soccer as well. So if we're in the house and we turn on the TV, we're most likely watching soccer.
Love it.
Favorite sports team other than Rising here in the Valley to go on a night out to watch?
Oof. You put him in a spot, man, because I haven't been to any other.
Ooh.
I'll say, the Suns, right? Yeah, it's basketball.
There you
for
go.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Down the street, yeah.
Yeah, you guys have to invite me now.
Yeah, definitely. Got to use the Game Time app. Yeah,
man.
There you go. Get some good tickets there. So Juan, you mentioned you like the country music. Any favorite band that you have from country, or any other genre that you like to listen to?
I don't know any, man.
No?
I'm starting now. I've gone there a lot of times, and I started to know the songs.
Okay.
Yeah, but not really.
Any reggaeton, anything like that you're into? Doesn't have to be that specific, but anything that you're into.
Music, I like everything, man. I like with Spotify and boom, whatever, just go.
Let him do his thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You a gamer? You play FIFA at all?
And I'm very weird, man. I didn't play FIFA
Yeah.
at all. My brother did, man. At all. I was not a big gamer of video games. I played it, but again, I was very bad at it. And I'm so competitive that when I'm not good at something, I get very upset and I don't enjoy it. And I couldn't. So I'm not a big FIFA. My 5-year-old, my 6-year-old it's a big fan of FIFA.
Ooh.
Like big fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
we got some gamers.
No,
in the house.
he goes. I want Harry Kane's jerseys.
Dude,
what?
we got that.
my God.
We got that on.
No,
we got
edit
that on
that out.
record.
We don't need that in
We
the
got
show.
that- We got that on
Let's cut the
record
show right
on
here.
camera.
But this is the thing, though. I was like, what? And then I asked, why? It's like, because he's a monster in FIFA.
Yeah, and penalties. Yeah.
I was waiting for it.
And I was like, okay. But listen, you know what I mean?
You gotta steer him to the good clubs. Manchester United,
We're not talking about
Real
yesterday.
Madrid, sneak him in there,
I told him, I said, no, Haaland is a monster.
Oh
He's
my
just-
God.
but he
What are you
said,
doing to me, Juan?
But here we go. Wait,
Oh,
but here we go. Then he said, no, Dad, you got to buy now FIFA 23 because Haaland is at Dortmund and I don't like Dortmund. He's 6, dude.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Yes.
It's wild.
Yes.
You still have time to change him. That's the thing, you know.
Yeah.
This is the other team, United. That's what we can do. Anyway, Juan, obviously there's a big tournament coming up. You know, in 30 days, the World Cup. And any teams that you think are going to take it all this year?
I hear there's a country that starts with a W that are going there.
Yeah. Again, I'm nice, but I gotta be honest too.
Wakanda is not in.
Oh my
is
God.
not in.
I don't know, man. There's many teams. You'll see. Argentina is doing a great job. I'm looking forward to seeing Argentina. I also listen. If you love football, you love soccer, you love the game, I think people are gonna be when Messi's on the field. It's one of those that you want to see him. Do well, especially because it's his last World Cup. Argentina is doing well. Netherlands I think is one of those kind of like dark horses that I think that they're doing good things with young players that are hungry. And again, Louis van Gaal is a guy that every time he's with the national team he gets them going. Spain is always a candidate, and it's gonna be a good World Cup. I was talking about I was having lunch with ownership the other day and our GM and an agent, and we were talking about this is going to be an interesting World Cup, right? Because of the month that is going to be played, and everybody was having different opinions, and I personally think that this could be one of the best World Cups we've seen from the playing kind of like perspective. Why do I say this? Is because we're not going to get the players so beat up after a whole year of traveling, playing, and all of that, because that's usually what happens, right? Yeah. Yes, it's true that after the year's done, they get like 20 days where they get together, and the national teams have more time to work to prepare for the World Cup. This year, they're gonna get probably 2 weeks or 16 days, but the players are less tired. They are gonna be with less load of games in their legs, and I think it's gonna give them the ability to see a more dynamic World Cup. That's at least what I think. So we'll see.
But Wales are going to finish above the line and get through into the knockout stages, surely.
I
Come
hope
on.
so, man. We'll see. I don't know.
You had me with the hurricane praise.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. He didn't say who was getting knocked out. Maybe England will get knocked out. I mean, it's England at a World Cup. You never know.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. Okay. I like that.
We'll see. Again, 30 days. It's going to happen. You're going to blink and it's going to start. So for sure. Any other questions, guys? You guys got for Juan?
Got a quick one. Score a goal. What's your celebration?
Man, I didn't score a lot of goals, man. I scored a few, huh? Yeah. I scored a few. I didn't score a lot. So I don't know. I didn't have a celebration when I scored. Yeah, after getting married, I was just kiss the ring.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
I used to do that, and that was it. Not much of a.
That's cool. Keep it classy. I like it.
It was a defensive midfielder. I think defensive midfielders don't really have celebrations.
That's fair.
And if you do, it looks bad.
That's fair.
What about Kev Lambert? He's got his little flip.
Yeah, he does a whole flip. Yeah, he's ready.
Either you do a flip that is unbelievable, and everybody's like, "Whoa." If you don't do a flip on your defensive midfielder, you don't celebrate it.
All right, cool. And then last one here. This is Max's question, by the way, and myself. I'm not going to lie. But when is the media versus rising front office staff game going to take place? Because Max is getting ready, just off of surgery. He's training. He's great.
Should I answer that question?
He's on Rocky 4.
So I as soon as I came in, I asked, when are we going to have a front office staff game? And everybody just looked at me kind of like, don't mention that. I said, but what happened? It seems that last time we had a game with the front office and the staff is somebody did an ACL and a staff member did his Achilles. This is something that
was Owen playing? Because I've heard he knocks out a few people.
In one game, those 2 injuries.
Oh my goodness!
So this is something that I think is gonna take some time.
Gotta sign some
convincing, but We'll see, dude. I'll try it, you know?
I appreciate it. And worst case, better safe than sorry, because Owen here clattered into Emma the other day. And poor Emma, we can't
she's
trust
limping.
this guy.
Look at that. She's out 3 to 4 months.
If we do any game, we'll just make sure that he's
It was a clean challenge.
No,
we'll have him ref. We'll have him ref.
On
I don't want him on the field like that.
No.
This is exactly what we can do.
You gotta get him on
you
the
guys are
refing
signing
side.
waivers.
Sign some waivers. We'll see. We'll work it out. We'll let y'all know. Hopefully we can stream it or something. It'd be fun. All right, Juan, thank you so much for joining us today. Amazing answers. I'm sure everybody in the chat and the fans that are going to watch this after are going to love your responses. And again, thank you for coming here to the studios. Guys, amazing questions. Thank you so much. And everybody that watched this live and that's going to listen to us later on, thank you so much. Always appreciate your support. And you're the reason why we have interviews like this and why we have someone like Juan show up and answer all your questions because of you guys. So love the support. Thank you so much. We will be back next week on Tuesday with some more content for you guys. Until then, take care and have a wonderful rest of your night. Take care.